Hey, Tommy, we've got some breaking news. The 2024 Chevy Corvette E-Ray just debuted, and I think it should have been all electric.
No, you're wrong. General Motors did enough with this E-Ray to make it special, and in this video we're going to start by going over all the stats you need to know about this new all-wheel drive electrified Corvette, and then we're going to have a little discussion. Did they go far enough toward the world of electrification?
Did you know that today happens to be the 70th birthday of the Corvette?
Yeah, the original C1 Corvette debuted on January 17th, 1953 at the GM Motorama, and the E-Ray brings even bigger changes than the whopping C8 shift to a mid-engine layout.
So before we have our little editorial discussion, let's talk about, price. Let's talk about the 0 to 60 times. Let's talk about all the highlights.
Yeah, so let's start with the powertrain. So in the rear, we still have a 6.2 liter V8, but this is now the first Corvette with an electric motor that powers the drive wheels, and in this case, it powers the front axle, and that motor by itself puts out 160 horsepower.
So what engine are we talking about, Tommy?
Well,
is it a V6? Is it a GM's 2.7 liter four-cylinder? Oh,
yeah,
no.
You know, there was some discussion that maybe they'd go turbocharged with the internal combustion aspect of the E-Ray, but they're actually maintaining the LT2, so the 495 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque V8 out of the standard Corvette, not the Z06, but the standard Corvette, and the combined output 655 horsepower when both are maxed out. That's just 15 less than the naturally aspirated 5.5 liter Z06.
So it's kind of like the NSX, right? Where it's got electrification on the front wheels, and then the rear wheels are powered by a mighty big grunty V8.
Yeah, but the NSX, of course, had that V6, right? Had a couple of turbos. This Corvette still uses an NAV8. Now, let's talk about the important stat. 0 to 60, according to Chevrolet, in 2.5 seconds. Now, that is roughly the same as a Z06, which is quoted at 2.6 seconds. Now, depending on how well you launch either vehicle, they're pretty much identical.
Yeah, the E-Ray's all-wheel drive system with front-mounted electric motors helps the hybrid get off the line a little bit quicker, right? Get better traction.
Now, the quarter mile, 10.5 seconds, and then of course, the dreaded weight number, 3,774 pounds for the E-Ray Coupe. That's 343 pounds heavier than a Z06 and 400 pounds heavier than a standard C8 Stingray Coupe.
So yes, it's a hybrid, Tommy, but can you drive it in all-electric mode?
I mean, technically, yes. There is a stealth mode, which selected on startup will drive on EV power. However, it only has a 1.9 kilowatt-hour battery pack. That's really small. It's mounted between the seats, and it allows, under ideal conditions, a few miles in EV mode. It allows you to drive up to 45 miles an hour before the gas engine kicks on. Now, it's meant for quietly exiting your neighborhood rather than a sole means of propulsion, because with that tiny battery, you're not going to be going very far on electricity alone.
So basically, most of the time, for all you V8 fans, you'll still be using the V8. The car does have an auto start, stop, shut off switch, and it has a charge plus button on the console to keep the battery topped off for track use.
Now, the Corvette E-Ray also gets GM's active fuel management technology as standard equipment. The electric motor will extend the engine's ability to run on 4 cylinders to save fuel in certain driving conditions, like commuting in the tour mode. Now, one important thing I want to point out is there's no physical connection between the front and the rear motors in terms of like a drive shaft, nothing like that. The front wheels are powered only by EV. The rear wheels are powered only by ICE.
Now, there are 6, Tom, you get that, not 5, not 7, but 6 drive modes: Tour, Sport, Track, Weather, My Mode, and Z Mode. All of your typical Corvette drive modes. Again, apart from picking Stealth at the start, there's no strictly EV mode.
There's also an E-Ray performance app through the infotainment system that gives you a granular detail of what the electric architecture is doing. Standard magnetic ride control 4.0, standard Brembo carbon ceramic brakes. The E-Ray is 3.6 inches wider than the Stingray, so it's roughly the same width as like a Z06, and it's got a staggered 20 and 21 inch wheel setup with Michelin Pilot support all seasons, and you can also get a summer tire if you so desire.
Yeah, and 3 different suspension settings, Tommy. So this is becoming like those German cars where you have a lot of customization that you can do. Almost too much, right? The latest Porsche GT3 RS, I would think, in my opinion, and I don't want to go in the weeds here with that, has almost too much customization. It's kind of like if you're a race car driver, you can really dial it in. And now Chevy and the Corvette have gone down that same route. It must be something that's in the water, Tommy, because they all seem to copy each other.
Now, what are some other special touches you get for the hybrid Corvette? Well, you get 14 total color choices, including Riptide Blue, Cactus Gray, and Cacti as an option. There's also an Artemis Dipped Green accented interior options specific to the 24 models, and 4 aluminum wheel options. And the unique touches for the E-Ray: electric blue body stripe package, E-Ray badging on the carbon flash, and then other options include carbon fiber wheels, ground effects, as well as a black exhaust tip.
So, what other company has used blue to signify their electrification?
Every other company. Blue or green?
Yeah, Jeep did the same thing with the 4xe, right? They
Right.
made all the recovery hooks blue. So, blue or green now has become the color of green.
And Toyota, of course, with their hybrid system, they use blue. Now, when's it coming and how much will it cost? It will arrive later this year. No specific dates, but hopefully in the next few months. Starting price for the one LC coupe is $104,295. The convertible is a few grand more at $111,295.
And those prices assume you can find one at MSRP, which are slightly lower than the Z06.
Yep.
The Z06
Coupe
1LZ.
starts
Yeah,
at
go ahead.
$106,695.
Exactly.
It's not clear at the moment whether E-Ray buyers will have to pay the $2,600 gas guzzler tax like you do on the Z06, and official EPA ratings aren't out yet. Now, pretty interesting. It's roughly the same price as a Z06, if you look at the MSRP at least. Roughly the same straight line performance as a Z06. Which one are you getting? The naturally aspirated Z06 rear wheel drive or the all wheel drive E-Ray?
So we started this by doing a know you're wrong, right? So I think that GM should have gone all electric.
Okay.
So this is going to be a little bit of a funky argument, but I think it makes sense. If it were my money, I wouldn't get either of them. I'd just go and get the standard Corvette. The 1LT starts at $67,000, Tommy, which I think is a sports car bargain. And for that reason, I think that's the one you get. Forget about all the fancy hybrid. Forget about the Z06 unless you're going to be tracking it. It still has, 500 horsepower, which is plenty for most of us humans on the road. And I wish, like I said, that they had gone electric because instant torque. GM has, now a vehicle that could, I think, have set a record in terms of acceleration. Right now, the Plaid, the Tesla Model S Plaid, at about, I think they lowered the price by $5,000, so they're in the 105 range now, 110 range. Could have been the fastest accelerating sports car. They could have had that title. Plus, it could have been a sports car that actually goes around a turn quickly, which, and I know all the Tesla fans out there are going to hate me, which the Plaid doesn't do very well.
Yeah, I don't think they should have gone full electric.
Why not?
Well, you got to consider that the Corvette fan base is very much a fan of the internal combustion engine, and so much of the Corvette experience is hearing that V8 scream, right? And what Chevrolet did is they utilized the advantages of an electric architecture, but don't see any of the disadvantages associated with range anxiety. So you still get a burst of instant torque. You still get the benefits of filling in the shifts, right, where the electric motor can give you torque. You get the benefits of all-wheel drive, but you never have to worry about charging it up. You don't have to worry about finding a DC charger. You can fill it up at a gas station if you're on a road trip. I think it gives you a lot of the benefits of both worlds.
Those are all great arguments, Tommy, but it's going that way anyway. I mean, let's face it, they're going to build an all-electric Vet. Why not do it sooner versus later? Beat the competition to the punch and create something where 20 years from now they can say, we were the first to build the electric Corvette and kind of show that they're leaders instead of followers.
Now, the other thing, too, is a big advantage of electrification is the savings on the environment. But let's be honest, most Corvette owners don't drive their cars all that much compared to like a commuter vehicle. So I'm more or less okay with the fact that you've got a big gas-burning V8 in the back of this car, considering it's only going to be used on the weekends. Plus, as we move into electrification and daily commuters are going electric, it still is cool as a car enthusiast to be able to hear that burble of the V8 on the weekends when you want to go have some fun with your car.
Yeah, like I say, it's the difference between your heart and your head, right? So you're making the heart argument. You're saying, you want this car that feels alive, right? It's got this beating monster of a V8, kind of like your heart, that you feel like this thing is going to tear down the road. And I'm making the head argument, which is, let's push the technology. Let's see what the new frontier of electrification can do. And I think they're both correct. But sometimes when you go down the middle, which is a hybrid, you're neither fish nor fowl, and that's what I'm kind of afraid of.
Well, if you look at like the Holy Trinity supercars, right? A lot of those use electrification too, like the Porsche 918, right? And those had the electric aspect as well. And I think that what's cool about this Corvette is this is not a $900,000 Porsche 918. You're now able to access that technology for $104,000.
Anyway, guys, let us know what you think in the comments below. And by the way, if you're a Chevy dealer and you've got a 1LT base vet that you're itching to sell, I think we're going to be adding one to our fleet if we can find one. I want the cheapest Corvette that we could buy, and it can't be black.
There you go. Well, let us know in the comments or send us an email, info@tflcar.com. And if you want to hear more discussion about the latest and greatest in the automotive world, check out the TFL Talk podcast wherever you find your podcasts.
Yeah, because we go in depth and have fun by doing so. All right, see you guys next time. Oh, alltfl.com if you want to find that podcast as well. See you guys next time. Ciao.